Discover 1 hour of incredible billionaire transformations, life-changing secrets exposed. Jack Thompson stood behind the counter of his small coffee shop, the sweet scent of brewing coffee mixing with the warmth of breakfast pastries. Maplewood was waking up, and he could hear laughter spilling from the front door. It was a familiar sound, one that wrapped around him like a hug. But today, a storm brewed inside him. His heart ached with the weight of his family's legacy, a beloved shop that had been more than just a business, it was a home filled with stories. The walls echoed joy, but each day felt heavier. Bills were stacking up like the abandoned cups on his tables, and a ruthless competitor loomed just down the block, eager to snatch up what his family had built. Jack could feel the ground beneath his dreams tremble. Just then, the bell above the door chimed, and in walked Alex Monroe, a self-made billionaire whose presence seemed to charge the air with electricity. Jack's heart raced. Was this just another wealthy man looking for a trendy place to sip espresso, or was he bringing something more? Alex's eyes sparkled with understanding, a shared intensity that struck a chord deep within Jack. "You know, I started with nothing, just like you," Alex said, his voice firm yet warm. "What turns a small cafe into a community pillar isn't just good coffee, it's the relationships you nurture. Let me show you how to spark that back into your business." Jack felt a glimmer of hope. Could this man actually help him? Perhaps it was not too late. With every word, he was reminded of the cozy mornings that echoed in his mind, the smiles, the laughter, the support of the community. But then he remembered his father's disappointment, the weight of expectations pressing down like a storm cloud, and fear wrapped its icy fingers around his heart. That evening, when he confronted his father, the air crackled with unspoken words. "You don't understand how hard this is," Jack shouted, his voice breaking. "I'm trying to make this place thrive." The quiet rage that had simmered for years finally unleashed. His father's eyes looked old, tired, almost defeated. "You're right, Jack," he replied, voice filled with regret. "I never thought my dreams would crush yours." Tension hung between them like a fragile thread about to snap. Just then, a whisper of doubt crept in. What if he was destined to fail? What if the community turned against him? Jack was on the brink, fear swirling like leaves in the wind. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue, with the threat of his rival's malicious plot looming over him, an unexpected rallying from the townspeople ignited something in Jack. Suddenly, he wasn't alone. They filled his coffee shop, laughing, sharing, reminding him of the love he once took for granted. But then, an old secret from his father's past surfaced, one that rattled Jack's understanding of everything he believed about his family, shaking him to his core. As he stood at the crossroads of dreams and reality, his heart raced. Would he confront the truth buried beneath family expectations? Or would he allow fear to drive him away from his coffee shop, the very soul of Maplewood? The air was thick with unsaid words, and Jack knew everything was about to change. Jack sat on a stool behind the counter, staring blankly at the bustling cafe. The laughter and chatter of loyal customers filled the air, but his mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. Each sound, each smile reminded him of why he opened the shop, to create a space where people felt at home. Yet, now the shadows of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. He recalled the moment Alex Monroe had walked in, his words igniting a flicker of hope. But that spark quickly dimmed under the weight of his family's secret and the worry about his rival's tactics. What if the townspeople rallied around him only to see him fail in the end? The thought clawed at his insides like a persistent itch. "Jack, are you with us?" A familiar voice broke through his thoughts. It was Lucy, his barista and friend, concern etching lines on her face. "You've been quiet today." Jack offered a weak smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Just thinking about Alex? She asked, leaning in closer. He seemed genuine, you know? You need someone like him to push you out of this rut. Her eyes sparkled with a glimmer of optimism, and for a moment, Jack felt himself floating above his worries. If he could embrace the chance Alex offered, maybe he could tap into the community spirit once more. Maybe you're right. He took a deep breath, and the scent of coffee filled his lungs. But it's scary, Lucy. I don't know if I'm ready for everything that might come with that. She placed her hand on his arm, grounding him. You don't have to have all the answers yet. Just take that first step. You have people here, Jack. They care about you and this place. Let them in. Jack nodded, her encouragement wrapping around him like a warm blanket. He glanced around the cafe, meeting the eyes of regulars who turned to him with smiles of support. It sparked something inside him, a tiny pulse of determination. I can't let the fear win, he whispered, more to himself than to Lucy. But there was another thought creeping in, the revelation about his father's hidden past. That secret sat like a stone in his gut, weighing him down. What could it mean for him and the cafe? I need to talk to my dad, he said suddenly, feeling the urgency build within him. About the secret. I can't move forward without understanding it. Lucy raised her eyebrows, concern washing over her features. Are you sure? What if it changes everything? He looked at her, unwavering. I need to know the truth. For me and for this cafe. Just then, the bell jingled, and more customers flowed in. Jack forced a smile, but inside, a storm was brewing. The shop felt alive, each laugh a reminder of the stakes he faced. As the day wore on, Jack's thoughts raced. What if the truth shattered everything he believed about his family? But what if it also freed him to build something incredible? That night, sitting across from his father at their kitchen table, the air felt thick with anticipation. Jack's hands trembled as he prepared to break the silence. Dad, I need to know what happened. The past. I need to understand, he said, his heart pounding. His father's gaze dropped to his hands, and Jack knew this conversation would unravel everything. The moment stood on a precipice, tension thick in the air. But when he finally looked up, Jack could see a storm brewing in his father's eyes, too. What truth would spill out into the open? Would it be a blessing or a curse? Jack's breath somehow caught in his throat, waiting for the revelation that would either break or bind them together once and for all. Jack could feel the weight of silence pressing down on him, stretching the moment into something almost unbearable. His father's fingers fidgeted with a napkin, white knuckles betraying his anxiety. The kitchen, usually a warm shelter, now felt like a stifling box, the air so thick it was hard to breathe. Son, there are things about our family that I never wanted you to know, his father finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Jack leaned in, tension coiling in his chest. But I need to know, Dad. You can't hold this back any longer. He searched his father's face for a sign, something that would help him grasp the swirling emotions that seemed to envelop them both. I wish I could change the past, his father said, looking out into the dimly lit kitchen, eyes distant. When we opened the cafe, it was meant to be our fresh start. But there were sacrifices, decisions that haunted me. What decisions? Jack pressed, urgency pushing against his ribs. What did you do? His father sighed, hesitating, weighing his words with the care of a man who knew the risks of truth. It's not what I did, but what I hid. When your grandfather passed away, he left behind debts more than you could imagine. To keep us afloat, I made deals that crossed lines I never wanted to touch. Jack's head spun. Each word sliced deeper into the core of his reality. What kind of deals? Unsavory connections, people who don't give up easily. I thought if we just pushed through, I could pay them back. That I could protect you from this life. But Jack's heart raced. But what, Dad? But that meant keeping you in the dark. All the while, that darkness drew closer. I was trying to shield you, but I only built a wall between us. Jack's breath hitched as the weight of his father's remorse settled heavily in the pit of his stomach. The very foundation of his life felt like it was cracking apart. So all this time, the cafe's been under threat. Why didn't you tell me? I thought it would break you, his father admitted, shame washing over his face. I wanted to keep you safe. But now, our safety is at stake. If I tell you everything, there's a chance it could get worse. Guilt mixed with anger surged through Jack. Worse? Or better? How can I help if I don't know what we're up against? His father looked defeated, aged beyond his years. I just wanted to give you the life I thought you deserved, without the burden of our past. But I see now that in trying to protect you, I pushed you away. Emotions tangled and twisted in Jack's chest. He felt betrayed yet pitied his father. Dad, we're a family. We can face this together. I refuse to be kept in the dark. His father's eyes glistened with unshed tears. You're right. I've made mistakes. But if this comes out now, I may lose everything. It could destroy us. Or it could set us free, Jack replied, determination replacing uncertainty. We can expose this, fight back. The cafe isn't just mine, it's ours, together. I want to let fear destroy the one place that means everything. The storm in the room swirled back to life, and Jack could feel the world shifting beneath him. As he gripped the table for support, he realized it wasn't just about the cafe anymore. It was about reclaiming their lives, revealing their truth and facing the consequences together. Are you with me? Jack asked, meeting his father's gaze fiercely. His father breathed deeply, a tremor of acceptance dawning in his eyes. Yes, but this road is going to be harder than anything we've faced before. Jack exhaled, resolve solidifying in his heart. Bring it on. I'm ready. But as they shared a moment of understanding, a sudden noise shattered the fragile peace. A loud crash from the cafe below, followed by hushed whispers. Jack's heart dropped. What now? Stay here, Jack commanded. Fear gripped him, but he peppered it with determination as he raced for the door. Just as he stepped into the cafe, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd, a face from his past he never expected to see again. What was Alex doing here, and what role would he play in the storm that was about to unfold? Jack's heart raced as he recognized the figure standing at the entrance of the cafe. Alex. The boy who had once been his closest friend, the one who had vanished without a trace. The crowd parted, leaving them locked in each other's stunned gaze. Memories rushed back, crashing over Jack like a tidal wave, laughter in the park, long talks late into the night over shared dreams, and then, just like that, Alex had disappeared. Jack? Alex's voice was hesitant, and the warmth he once associated with it now felt distant, replaced by something heavy and uncertain. What are you doing here? Jack couldn't mask the tension in his voice. He stepped closer, keeping a protective stance. He swallowed hard, searching for words that wouldn't betray the weight of their complicated past. You just left? Alex's expression shifted from surprise to an odd mixture of guilt and determination. I know, and I'm sorry for that. I had my reasons. He scanned the cafe, as if sensing the underlying tension thickening the air. I heard about the cafe, about everything that is happening. Yeah, well, it's not exactly a secret anymore, Jack replied sharply. His frustration flared, sparked by confusion. What do you want, Alex? I mean, why now? Before Alex could respond, the murmurs in the cafe rose, voices blending into a loud hum of speculation. Jack could feel the eyes of customers and onlookers darting between the two of them, caught in their palpable tension. I didn't come to hurt you, Jack. I'm here to help, Alex said, and his earnestness pierced through Jack's defenses. There was something vulnerable in his eyes. The years apart hadn't dulled their connection, but it had certainly layered it in complexities. Help? With what? You're the last person I would trust right now. Jack took a step back, his heart battling between the pull of friendship and the caution of pain. You don't understand, Alex pressed, glancing over his shoulder, lowering his voice. I know things about your father's deals. The people involved, they're dangerous. I overheard some conversations that could put not just the cafe, but you and your dad in real danger. Jack's thoughts raced. The revelation dropped into his mind like a stone, stirring up the murky waters of uncertainty. So, you just showed up to warn us. After all this time. Why? What did you hear? Alex's gaze hardened, a flicker of determination igniting something in Jack as he sensed the stakes rising. Because, he said, I've been looking for a way to return, to make things right. You and your dad deserve the truth. The whole truth. Before Jack could respond, an argument erupted in the cafe. Voices escalated, tensions boiling over like steam from a kettle. His father appeared at Jack's side, eyes scanning the room worriedly. What's happening? It's Alex. He asked back, and he knows something, Jack muttered, still struggling with the mixed flood of emotions swirling in his chest. Back. His father's brows knitted, alarm spreading across his features. That's not good, Jack. If he's involved with a figure pushed through the crowd, sharp and commanding. Jack, you need to listen to me. It was a local business owner, old friends with Jack's father. The urgency in her voice made Jack's pulse quicken. There's been talk. People are coming for the cafe. They want revenge. Fear lanced through Jack. Everything felt like it was collapsing around him, his family, his past, and the very future he had fought so hard to protect. Suddenly, his choices loomed large, tangled in the murky waters of trust and betrayal. Alex, Jack said, turning back to him, if we're going to fight this, can you be trusted? The silence hung heavy as Alex searched Jack's eyes, determination blazing like a beacon. You'll have to take a chance on me, Jack. I promise you won't regret it. With the stakes higher than ever, Jack felt the familiar weight of darkness creeping in. Trust wasn't easy to come by, especially now, but if they were going to face this storm, they needed each other more than ever before. As the chaos erupted around them, Jack made a choice. All right, let us find out what's really going on. Together. But just as he uttered those words, the front door banged open. Shadows spilled inside, creating a face-off that felt all too familiar. Gritting his teeth, Jack braced himself for a confrontation. Who were these newcomers, and how far were they willing to go to reclaim what they thought was theirs? The newcomers hesitated just inside the door, their dark clothing and hardened expressions spellbinding the crowd. Jack's instincts kicked in. He took a protective step forward, positioning himself in front of Alex, who felt like both a lifeline and a wild card. The atmosphere thickened, pulsing with electricity, and voices softened to murmurs of anxiety, heightened curiosity blending with fear. Who are you? Jack shouted over the din, his tone far more defiant than he felt. Every pair of eyes in the cafe fell on the newcomers, their uncertainty lending a chilling vibrancy to the moment. One of them stepped forward, a tall figure with an intimidating presence. We're here for something that belongs to us, the man declared, his voice like gravel. His eyes flickered to Jack's father, rigid and pale at the sight of the approaching threats. Your time is up, another shouted, the words laced with accusation as if they held the weight of a promise. The tension tightened like a noose around Jack's neck. Back off. Jack's father interjected, stepping up beside Jack, his voice faltering with hesitant authority. The old man's hands were trembling slightly, and that fear reverberated through Jack, threatening to unmoor him as well. We've got unfinished business, the leader continued, his steel-eyed gaze locked on Jack and his father. Your father made a deal, one that he never should have struck. We're here to collect what's owed. Jack's skin prickled with a mix of fury and fear. The world he'd fought to protect was crumbling around him. What are you talking about? He demanded, his heart thundering in protest, but before the man could respond, Alex grabbed Jack's arm, urgency pouring from him. Jack, they know about your father's deals. We have to be smart here. We need to go, Jack's dad warned, his voice laced with panic. We can't let them corner us. We can't show weakness. Jack shook his head, a fire igniting within him, igniting his defiance. No, I want answers. We've gotten this far. If they're here, we can't let them intimidate us. Jack, please, Alex urged, his eyes pleading. If they've come to collect, it means they'll stop at nothing. We play this wrong, and we could lose everything. But something deep within Jack pushed him onward, a fierce determination that burned through doubt. We deserve the truth, he shouted, feeling the weight of every heart in the cafe pounding behind him, the unity of a community that could stand as one. Enough talk. The leader snarled, stepping closer, fists clenched. The shadows of the cafe flickered ominously as Jack felt more eyes shift, whispers swirling around them like the gathering storm. At that moment, a familiar voice cut through the tension, surprisingly calm yet blazing with rage. What are you trying to accomplish here? It was a local friend of Jack's dad, standing alongside them, courage emanating from his every step. But Jack's attention was still on the newcomers. They were intruders to his life, threats that could unravel everything he held dear. The instinct to protect began to overshadow any other emotion. It was no longer just a cafe at stake, it was their family, their legacy, and Jack would do anything to defend it. Then let us settle this, Jack declared, his voice steady now, a resolve hardened by necessity. Face to face. No games. As the leader's eyes flared with surprise, he quickly regathered his composure. You think you know what you're asking for, kid? A heartbeat of silence fell, and all eyes in the cafe held their breath. Jack felt the intensity of the moment, and although fear lurked like a predator, it only fueled his courage. I'm not backing down, he asserted. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken threats and fraught with unresolved tension. The edge of confrontation loomed ever closer, a precipice that could shift into chaos at any moment, and as fate would have it, just behind the newcomers, a flicker of movement shifted in the shadows, a shadow who could change everything. What was their connection to the danger waiting outside? Jack could feel his pulse quicken with urgency. There was so much more at stake than he had anticipated, and he was determined to find out what it meant for all of them. Even as the lines between friend and foe blurred, Jack realized one truth: the fight wasn't just for the cafe anymore. It was for everything he held sacred. As the silence stretched, the air thickened, words unspoken becoming a palpable threat. What do you want from us? Jack knew that everything hinged on how they responded next. The leader's smirk faded, replaced by a cold stare that made Jack's heart race. What we want is justice, he proclaimed, each word sharp and deliberate, the cafe's atmosphere tightening around them like an iron grip. Jack felt the weight of the murmurs around him. People were scared, some shifting on their feet, uncertain whether to support Jack or flee. He locked eyes with Alex, who was taking slow, deep breaths, desperately trying to keep his composure. Jack's resolve only strengthened. What justice? Jack challenged, his voice steady despite his racing heart. What have you lost that you think my father owes you? The leader's expression twisted into something more sinister. Your father made promises he cannot keep. He thinks he can hide behind his tenacity, but the past always catches up. A chill ran down Jack's spine as he absorbed the menace in those words. This wasn't merely about money or resources, it was something more personal, more dangerous. He glanced at his father, whose face had turned a shade paler. Whatever deal had been struck, it was far more than any of them could understand. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows behind the newcomers, a small woman with fierce eyes, taking decisive steps forward. Stop acting like you're entitled to anything, she shouted. Her voice was a lifeline, but her words cut deep. It was Clara, Jack's childhood friend, who had been missing for months. What are you doing here? Jack gasped, caught off guard by her presence. She had been a ghost, leaving behind an empty seat at the cafe, and now here she was, standing before them like a beacon of defiance. I'm not going to let you bully these people, Clara challenged, looking straight into the eyes of the leader. They're just trying to survive, and you're here tossing around threats like they're nothing. The leader laughed, a harsh sound that filled the room. And what are you? Some brave knight. You don't know the stakes. You have no idea what's involved in this business. Maybe not, but I know what you're doing is wrong. Clara fired back, her cheeks flushed with fire. The energy in the cafe shifted, once again focused on this unexpected twist. Some people began to shift closer, emboldened by her words. The leader's face darkened, but just as he opened his mouth to respond, the cafe's door swung wide, revealing a new figure. A tall, imposing man stepped through, his presence filled the room immediately. Jack's breath hitched. It was Marcus, an old family friend with a history that could rival any best-selling novel. Enough of this, Marcus boomed, stepping fully inside. If you've come looking for trouble, you've found it, but not in the way you expect. His firm, authoritative presence seemed to amplify the gathering bravery among those in the cafe. Jack felt a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Perhaps they weren't completely alone. Perhaps together they could resist the encroaching darkness, but the leader of the newcomers wasn't backing down, and Jack could feel the tension crackling like a live wire. You're bluffing, he spat. This is not your fight, old man. Marcus, unflinching, replied, when it comes to family, I don't ever bluff. Jack felt the room surge with courage as whispers of agreement rippled through the crowd. But inside, uncertainty was a gnawing presence. What if even their best wasn't enough against the forces aligned against them? The imminent threat loomed larger, and Jack's heart raced with the weight of the unknown. With Clara now in the mix, he had more questions than answers. Was she still somehow tied to the past? Did Marcus have the power to shift the tide? As the showdown loomed closer, Jack's gaze drifted back to the newcomers. The shadows hung heavy, and every heartbeat pulsed with expectation. They were on a precipice, and one wrong step could lead to disaster. Then let us finish what we started, Jack shouted, the fire in his belly roaring to life. But even as he spoke bravely, doubts flickered in the corners of his mind. What secrets would unravel, and at what cost? With a newfound determination, Jack prepared for the clash that could change everything. What truth would come to light? What hidden connections existed just beneath the surface? Jack's words hung in the air like a dagger, his chest seething with adrenaline. The leader's grip on his anger tightened, but the crowd, drawn in by the turbulent exchange, began to shift, whispers turned to quiet murmurs of support. Marcus took a step closer, a guardian brimming with purpose, standing firm for all to see. Let us see how tough you really are, the leader retorted, his confidence wavering under Marcus's formidable gaze. But beware, this isn't a game. People will get hurt. Jack felt a surge of anger at the threat. You think you intimidate us? We've survived worse than you can imagine. Not just his voice, but the entire cafe united behind him. It was as if the weight of countless lives, all intertwined in shared struggles, rallied in that moment. Clara stepped forward again with fierce determination. We won't let you terrorize anyone here. We stand together. Her words rippled through the crowd, giving even the most hesitant some courage to step into the fray. Jack admired her bravery but was terrified. How deep did her connections to this conflict run? And what do you think you can do? The leader snapped, taking a step forward, voice dripping with disdain. Jack's heart skipped. It felt like the seconds stretched on forever. As the tension escalated, a single thought raced through him. This wasn't just about his father anymore. It was about standing up for everyone who had ever felt powerless, everyone who needed someone to fight for them. Are you ready to face the consequences? Marcus asked, his voice calm but electric, punctuating the air with authority that demanded respect. The folks in the cafe began to inch a little closer, gathering strength like wildfire. They were part of something greater, emboldened by this collective spirit. But just as fear began to fade, another voice cut through. From the back, a woman stepped up thin, worn by life but with eyes that glimmered with unyielding resolve. We're tired of being pawns in your game. It ends now. She was a stranger to Jack, but in her words lay a reflection of what everyone felt. Jack locked eyes with Clara, both of them experiencing a mix of hope and dread. The scene around them turned electric, conflict poised to erupt, moments away from an explosion. He understood the risks but also knew the time for hiding was over. "I want tea back down," Jack said, feeling the gravity of his words. "We're tired of running. We're not afraid of your threats anymore." The room erupted in murmurs of agreement, a wave of renewed strength washing over them, yet the leader's face turned grim, his dark eyes narrowing, plotting. "You think you've found a backbone, kid? It's going to cost you dearly." Something shifted in Marcus, tension coiling in his shoulders. "Let us not escalate this any further," he warned, a hint of a plea slipping through. "For everyone's safety, we're prepared to discuss this like reasonable people." "Reasonable?" The leader spat, a cruel laugh escaping him. "There is nothing reasonable about what you owe." Jack felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The stakes seemed to rise higher with every word exchanged. "Then let us dig deeper," Jack challenged, suddenly aware of a new spirit within him, one not just charged with anger but urgent need for truth. "Whatever you think you're here to claim, let us talk about it." He looked around at the faces surrounding him, some determined, others frightened. He couldn't let that fear consume them again. He needed to find a solid ground to stand on, not just for himself but for Clara, for everyone in that cafe who had dared to hope. But could they really untangle the past? What hidden truths would emerge from the graves they'd dug deep within their lives? As Jack steeled himself for an upheaval of buried issues, he felt a shift in the air, one that hinted at an impending collision. He had ignited a fire and now it was a matter of whether they could control it. He turned toward the leader, ready for whatever revelation might come next. What would the leader reveal? And just how were they all intertwined in this web of secrets that could unravel everything? A heavy silence swept through the cafe. Jack could feel the palpable tension around him, almost like a thick fog that smothered any remaining hope. The leader's eyes glinted with both malice and amusement, as if he relished the spectacle unfolding before him. He leaned closer, smirking, ready to draw blood, both literally and figuratively. "What do you really think you're offering here, Jack? Another sub-story?" The leader scoffed, dismissing their collective courage with a wave of his hand. Behind him, his followers shifted uneasily, their loyalty flickering like a candle in the wind. Jack took a breath, trying to summon the resolve that had surged through him just moments ago. "I'm not offering pity. I'm offering a chance to change this. To be more than we were born into." The crowd murmured in agreement, the potent energy swirling around them creating an almost electrifying charge that filled the room. Clara stood boldly beside him. "What we owe isn't about the past, it's about the future we want to build. A real future, not one dictated by fear or chaos." Her fierce stance bolstered Jack, her fire resonating with those gathered, filling them with an unexpected sense of solidarity. The leader's laughter echoed off the walls, cruel and mocking. "Future? Your future is built on a lie, kid. One that I control. You think you can speak of dreams when the reality is you owe me." Rage bubbled within Jack like boiling water, but Clara's hand on his arm steadied him. He realized this wasn't just a battle of words, it was a test of wills. The cafe patrons were no longer just bystanders, they were participants in a turning tide, united against a common adversary. "What is it you want?" Jack demanded, his voice carrying a hint of desperation. "You say we owe you, what does that mean? What will it take for you to leave us be?" The leader paused, his expression shifting from amusement to something colder, calculating. "I could tell you, but that wouldn't be any fun. Why not entertain us a bit longer?" His swagger was unsettling as he took a step back, as if daring Jack to provoke him further. It felt like a dig into the raw nerves of their past. Jack caught a glimpse of anger and fear reflected in the faces of those around him. They were desperate for answers. They needed a way out, but he also realized that revealing their vulnerabilities might lead to devastating consequences. What do you have planned?" Clara asked, her voice trembling slightly but laced with defiance. "Let us just say," the leader replied, leaning into the crowd with a sickening charm. Everyone has secrets. And secrets can always be leveraged. There are things about your pasts, your families that could be very interesting to your neighbors. Each word dripped with a malicious intent that sent chills up Jack's spine. He glanced at Clara again, the urgency in her eyes mirroring his own. He could sense the truth was about to spill, ugly and raw. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about everyone who had silenced their own pain too long. Realization washed over his fear. They weren't just shadows from the past together, they represented the possibility of something new. They could take this and turn it against him, own their stories. With fire igniting within him, Jack straightened his spine. We want to play your game. We're not afraid of our pasts. You can twist it, threaten us, but together, we rise. We are more than anything you could hold against us. The conviction in his voice surprised even him. A spark ignited, the cafe erupted in applause, a symphony of acceptance and unity. But the leader looked angrier than ever, the mask starting to slip. You think this is a game? He hissed, fury contorting his features. We'll see how long that bravado lasts. You're in way over your heads. Jack could feel the ground shake beneath them, a dark promise of retaliation. Suddenly, he recognized the leader was not just fierce, he was cornered, dangerous in ways he hadn't imagined before. As their fates intertwined, Jack realized this was only the beginning. What was left for them to uncover? What other truths lurked beneath the surface, just waiting to be torn open? With bated breath, Jack awaited the imminent storm, knowing that whatever it was, they would face it together. Because the real battle was not just against this man but against the very chains of secrets that bound their lives. What would the leader unleash next? And could they really stand united when their own secrets began to haunt them? The tension in the cafe thickened as Jack stood tall, his heart pounding. Clara's hand squeezed his arm like a lifeline. Around them, whispers broke free from the crowd, each one a mix of fear and hope. Jack knew their collective spirit was a fragile thing, but it also held an undeniable strength. Think you can scare us? One man shouted from the back. His voice was strong, unwavering. We've faced worse. More voices joined in, a chorus of defiance. Jack's confidence surged with every word. They were no longer passive witnesses. They were warriors of their own story, the leader recalled slightly, as if the atmosphere had shifted against him. You think you're special? He spat, teeth clenched. You think you can rise above me? I built my power on the bones of people too proud to know their place. A woman stepped forward, anger blazing in her eyes. And you think we'll go back to letting you control us? No more. The crowd erupted in agreement, the tidal wave of unity sweeping through them. This was more than a struggle, this was the awakening of those who had been silenced for too long. Enough. The leader barked, but the words fell like dead leaves around him. Let us hear it then, Claire replied, stepping confidently beside Jack. What do you know about us? About our families. The leader smirked, a cruel tilt of his lips. The glittering edge of the cafe light caught the venom in his smile. Oh, don't worry. I'll unveil those secrets in time. But rest assured, they'll crush your little uprising. You're nothing but a group of scared kids pretending to be heroes. But we're not afraid, Jack shouted back, an unshakable resolve filling him. And we refuse to be defined by you. For a moment, silence wrapped around them, heavy and suffocating. Then came the sound of fists hitting tables, followed by cries of motivation. Together! Together! Echoed through the room. The patrons' hearts, once weighed down by fear, now beat with a burning resolve that drowned out the darkness. In that moment, Jack understood it wasn't just about their pasts, it was about reclaiming their futures. He could see the flicker of hope in Clara's eyes, igniting a fire inside him. They would not just survive, they would reshape their destinies. Suddenly, the leader's expression twisted, fury bubbling over. You think that makes you stronger? You don't even know the half of it. I'll show you the true cost of defiance. Jack could feel the weight of the threat in the air, pressing tight against his chest. There was something dark hovering behind the leader's words, a storm they had yet to fully grasp. Then bring it, Jack shot back, adrenaline coursing through his veins. We'll take whatever you throw at us. Together. The applause grew louder, a chant of solidarity filling the cafe, drowning out the leader's scorn. But through the chaos, Jack sensed a shift, a dark undertow that promised retaliation from the leader, far worse than words. As the crowd cheered, Jack looked at Clara, their shared determination locking them in place as warriors for their truth. But what were the secrets the leader planned to unleash? Would they collapse under the weight of their pasts, or find strength in their truth? The cafe's walls seemed to pulsate with the energy of their unity, but Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stepped into a greater game. One that would confront the very essence of who they were. With hearts racing and breaths held, Jack and Clara felt the weight of uncharted territory before them. They had ignited a fire, but at what cost? Would their unity be enough to withstand what was coming? The storm had just begun. How would they face the leader's next move? And could they truly rely on each other when their own secrets threatened to surface? The air in the cafe crackled like a live wire, the tension heavy with unspoken fears and fierce determination. Jack's heart pounded as he held Clara's gaze. They were no longer just fighting for the cafe but for every thread of connection that held Maplewood together. The leader's smirk faded slightly, showing a hint of uncertainty as the crowd rallied behind Jack. This newfound unity was palpable, a surge of energy rising like a tide ready to crash. But Jack's gut twisted as he felt a storm brewing on the horizon, darker than anything they had faced so far. You think loud voices scare me? The leader sneered, but even he couldn't hide the flicker of apprehension that crossed his features. This is just the beginning. There are things you don't understand, and I'm going to make sure you face them. Jack stepped forward, the fiery resolve surging within him. Then let us face them together. You don't know what we're capable of when we stand united. You threaten us, but look around, the people here aren't just customers, they're family. The leader faltered, his bravado waning. Jack could see that the swell of support around him was making an impact. Is that so? He shot back, trying to regain control. Family means nothing if they turn on you when the truth is revealed. Jack felt a prickle of anxiety. What truth? Would the leader expose secrets that would tear apart the community? But as he surveyed the crowd, he saw the determination in their eyes, the fierce loyalty that bound them together. And in that instant, everything clicked. They were more than just individuals, they were a collective force that could withstand even the harshest storm. Bring it on! Clara shouted from beside him, her eyes blazing with fierce courage. What do you think we're afraid of? Secrets? Lies? You think we don't know what's buried beneath the surface? Her voice resonated, igniting the crowd. More voices joined hers, chanting in unison. We're not afraid. We're not afraid. The leader's expression hardened into a mask of anger. You think this is a game? Let me show you how wrong you are, he spat, gesturing to his companions, who shifted ominously behind him. But even as they did, Jack could sense a fissure forming in their solid front. You don't scare us, Jack repeated firmly, emboldened by the energy building around him. Take your threats and know that we're done being scared. You've haunted us for too long. Suddenly, a familiar voice sliced through the noise, cutting sharply to the heart of the gathering. It was Alex, stepping bravely into view. I know what those secrets are, he announced, his voice steady. And I'm not afraid to stand alongside you, Jack. Together, we can tell our story over your lies. The leader's face paled momentarily, the tension in the air palpable as secrets danced dangerously close to the surface. Jack looked at Alex, surprised yet grateful for his presence. Could they risk revealing the past that had haunted them for so long? Secrets are only powerful if you let them control you. Clara declared, each word ringing true. Let us own our stories. You think you can expose us? We've got the strength of a whole community backing us. The cafe erupted into applause, a chorus of supportive voices echoing back at the threat looming before them. Do you really think revealing your stories will change anything? The leader sneered, though his composure wavered. People will turn on you when they see your true colors. Jack clasped Clara's hand tighter, his heart racing with determination. Let them see. We're not afraid of who we are. We've made mistakes, we've lived through storms, but we're stronger now. And we won't let you destroy us. The moment cracked like thunder in the air, the tension threatening to burst. The leader faltered, and Jack seized the opportunity. What are you so afraid of? What is it about our truths that make you tremble? Slowly, indecision crept into the leader's elitist facade. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder, fueled by Jack and Clara's defiance. Your time is ending. One person shouted, their voice cutting through the opposition like a lifeline. We're here to reclaim what is ours. The leader's bravado crumbled under the onslaught of unity, fear bubbling beneath the surface. You may think you're brave, he muttered, but uncertainty clouded his gaze. But it'll just take one word to unravel you all. Jack stepped closer, feeling the warmth of Clara and the support of his friends envelop him like a shield. And it'll take one truth to raise us all. If our pasts are what you're holding over us, then maybe it's time we set our stories free. They're part of us, and we're ready to own them. Time hung suspended, the air electric with the promise of change as realization dawned in Jack's heart. Together they were unstoppable. Enough! The leader shouted, the command laced with desperation, but Jack could sense the crack in the facade. They were united, each voice amplifying the confidence that had taken root in the cafe. They would not just survive this, they would flourish just as the crowd surged with renewed fervor. As if every heart beat as one, something shifted in the cafe. The ghosts of the past began to fade, replaced by the strength of their shared truth. Jack lifted his chin, feeling the weight of purpose settle squarely on his shoulders. We're no longer afraid. We're Maplewood. And together, there is no storm we cannot weather. With that declaration, the tide began to turn. The leader's expression morphed into a grimace of disbelief as Jack's words echoed through the cafe, resonating in each heart present. Before the leader could muster a response, the room thundered with applause and support, a collective determination that shattered fear and disbelief, grounding them in the possibility of freedom from the lies that had held them hostage for too long. In that extraordinary moment, Jack knew they were no longer just fighting for a cafe, they were fighting for a community, for a legacy reborn through authenticity. Together, hand in hand, they would face whatever lay ahead. And with one last glance at Alex and Clara, Jack understood they were ready to rise against the chaos that would inevitably come, determined to reclaim their hearts, their stories, and their cafe once and for all. And for the first time, a genuine smile broke across Jack's face. This was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now to make sure you catch the next chapter in this amazing journey. Hit that like button right now to keep the impulse strong. Don't wait not even one more second to share this story with your friends. This is a transformation that could inspire everyone. Tell me your thoughts and feelings about the ending in the comments below, because I want to hear from you. Let us keep the momentum rolling together.